Hi everyone. So I woke up the other morning and God spoke to me and said, perfect timing. Now, if you don't think that God can still speak to his people, then that is a whole other conversation that we need to have because he can and he will. And he told me perfect timing. And I think that is so fitting for today because we are a culture that is obsessed with time. We can time everything down to the millisecond. We're angry when someone is a minute late, and we lack patience to wait on anything that is good or worthy. We ask God for something, and we want it right then and right now. But the Bible tells us that there is a perfect time and season for everything. So we're going to go to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 8. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Who better to know the perfect timing of everything than God, who created time itself? He created the universe and everything in it. Genesis 1 and 4 says, the lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, for seasons, for days and years. God made a way to measure time itself. And I love in the book of Joshua chapter 10 where this is where the 5 kings are warring against Gibeon, and Joshua needs more time to defeat that army. And he boldly asks God to stop the sun and the moon, and God grants that to him. There has never been a day before or since like that. And it says the sun stood still and the moon stayed. I know there's times in my life, and probably yours too, where everything's just so busy and chaotic and you just need time to stand still. You just need God to come in and comfort and give you peace. And I've had moments where it just feels like it's just me and him and everything else is gone and it's just us and time has stood still. But physically that day with Joshua, God stopped time. I just love that. That is so amazing. Now, we are all probably waiting on the Lord to move in an area of our life. I know I am. I'm waiting on some things, and I have faith that God is going to move on those things. 2 Peter 3 and 8 says, but beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. So God's time is not our time. Isaiah 40 and 31, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Psalm 27 and 14 says, wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. So there are many different people in the Bible who have had to wait on God, just like we do. Let's go to the book of Genesis with Abraham and Sarah. Now, God has promised to bless Abraham with descendants. It says, make thy seed as the dust of the earth and the stars in the sky for their multitude. So he's been promised that he will have numerous descendants. But him and Sarah do not even have children yet. So Abraham's wife Sarah knows this promise as well. But she's getting a little impatient because she's barren. She doesn't have any children yet, and they're getting older. So she gives her handmaid Hagar to Abraham so that they can conceive a son together. Now, she thought that she was going to help out God a little bit to fulfill his promise. But whenever Hagar conceives, Sarah despises her. So it makes for a very uncomfortable situation. If you haven't read that, go read that in the book. There's a lot more to it. So she despises Hagar. And, God does not need our help in anything. If he makes a promise to us, he will fulfill it in due time, in his time. Now, God renews the covenant with Abraham and Sarah, and in their old age, they do conceive a son, Isaac. And God establishes an everlasting covenant with Isaac. So Sarah did not need to give Abraham her handmaiden, but she was impatient, and they had a lot to deal with because of Sarah's choice. Let's move over to John chapter 4. Jesus says he must needs go through Samaria. So he goes through Samaria and he meets a Samaritan woman at the well. Now Jesus knew who this woman was. He knew when she would be there and that when she got to the well that she would be alone. It was in the heat of the day and he knew where she was. He went to her. He went to this woman at the well. There's no coincidence. He didn't just happen upon her. She was there and he must needs get to her. This is the longest recorded conversation that Jesus has with someone. And I think it's beautiful that it's this woman that no one expects. Now, he tells her everything about herself, and he tells her that he is the Messiah. She goes and tells everyone. And because of her testimony being so great, they come to meet Jesus themselves, and then they believe he's the Messiah because they meet him. I just love that there's no coincidence. There's no just, oh, we just happen to be here at the same time. Jesus must needs go to Samaria to get to that woman at the well. And he does that with you too. There's no coincidence. He will come to you, and it's not a coincidence. He gets there when he gets there because that's the time that is perfect. Let's go to Luke chapter 8. This is Jairus' daughter. So sometimes whenever we are seeing other people being healed, maybe receiving miracles, receiving blessings, and we're still waiting on ours, we might think it's just too late. But God's timing is perfect. So Jairus is a ruler of a synagogue, and his daughter is dying. So he goes to Jesus, and he's, falling at his feet and asking him, come and heal my daughter. Now, there's a lot of people around them at this time. The multitude thronged him, I think is how it is worded. But while there are so many people there, while all that is going on, a woman with an issue of blood comes and touches the hem of Jesus' garment, and she is healed. So, that woman is healed, but while all that is going on, Jairus' daughter dies. Jairus' servant comes and says, thy daughter is dead, trouble not the master. But God, right? He goes to Jairus' house, and he tells the daughter, maid, arise. And she wakes up and she's healed. She comes back from the dead. Now, Jairus might have thought it's too late. The time has passed. But God steps in. Jesus comes to heal his daughter, and the timing is perfect. Okay? Let's move over to John 11. This is with Lazarus. Okay? And I'm going to skip around. I'm not going to read the whole story. I'm just going to kind of skip around. So that's John chapter 11. Now a certain man was sick named Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. When he had heard therefore that he was sick, he abode 2 days still in the same place where he was. Let's skip down to verse 11. These things said he, and after that he saith unto them, our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may awake him out of sleep. Verse 14. Then said Jesus unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead. Now if we stopped right there, that may seem like time, it's over with. Lazarus is gone. He's dead. But verse 15, and I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, to the intent ye may believe. Nevertheless, let us go unto him. Then when Jesus came, he found that he had lain in the grave 4 days already. Verse 21, then said Martha unto Jesus, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. But I know that even now, whatsoever thou wilt ask of God, God will give it thee. Jesus saith unto her, thy brother shall rise again. Martha saith unto him, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said unto her, I am the resurrection, praise God, and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Believest thou this? She saith unto him, Yea, Lord, I believe that thou art the Christ, the Son of God, which should come into the world. So now we're going to go on down to verse 32. Then when Mary was come where Jesus was and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying unto him, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. Saying, why weren't you on time? Why didn't you come? You could have saved him. When Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews also weeping which came with her, he groaned in the spirit, and was troubled, and said, Where have ye laid him? They said unto him, Lord, come and see. Jesus wept. Jesus knew what he was about to do, but he wept anyway. He truly cares for you and when you're hurting. Then said the Jews, Behold how he loved him. And some of them said, Could not this man which opened the eyes of the blind have caused that even this man should not have died? Jesus therefore, again groaning in himself, cometh to the grave. It was a cave, and a stone lay upon it. Jesus said, Take ye away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, saith unto him, Lord, by this time he stinketh, for he hath been dead 4 days. Jesus saith unto her, Said I not unto thee that if thou wouldest believe, that thou shouldest see the glory of God? Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. And Jesus lifted up his eyes, and said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. And I knew that thou heardest me always, but because of the people which stand by I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Jesus saith unto them, Loose him, and let him go. That song, 4 days late, says it perfectly. When he's 4 days late, he's still on time. To the outside world, time was up. It was over with. But God. Jesus steps in, and he says, Lazarus, come forth. So even when it seems like he's late, he's just on time. And even when Jesus was on this earth, he had a time that he had to do things as well. So Galatians 4:4 says, But when the fullness of the time was come, God sent forth his Son. It is absolutely not a coincidence the time that Jesus was on earth. That was fully known and planned ahead of time. John 2:4 says, Jesus saith unto her, Woman, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come. This is one of many times that Jesus says, My time is not yet come. John 7:6, Then Jesus said unto them, My time is not yet come, but your time is always ready. John 7:8, Go ye up unto this feast. I go not up yet unto this feast, for my time is not yet full come. John 7:30, Then they sought to take him, but no man laid hands on him, because his hour was not yet come. John 8:20, These words spake Jesus in the treasury as he taught in the temple, and no man laid hands on him, for his hour was not yet come. John 12:23, And Jesus answered them, saying that the hour is come that the Son of Man shall be glorified. So there was a time that it wasn't Jesus' hour, but now the time has come. John 17:1, These words spake Jesus, and lifted up his eyes to heaven, and said, Father, the hour is come. Glorify thy Son, that thy Son also may glorify thee. John 19:30, he said, It is finished. So while Jesus was on earth, he had to wait for his hour to come as well. Now, for a people who are so obsessed with time, we sure waste a lot of it. And we think that we have forever before we die. And that is just not the case. Our flesh cannot truly comprehend that our souls are eternal. And we have a choice where we will spend the rest of eternity. And God will honor that choice. There will be no going to the judgment seat and pleading your cause. Right now here on earth is your courtroom. This is your case. Where you choose to spend eternity is of the utmost importance. There will be no second chances after you are dead. There will be no second chances after you are dead. When that hourglass stops, time truly stops for you, in the sense of you can't ask to be saved after that. Where you go for eternity, that is truly forever and ever. Now, if you are a child of God and you are just waiting on something that you are asking the Lord to move on, just be patient. Seek the Lord. Be of good courage. Don't lean on your own understanding, and don't push things. We see many times in the Bible where people have not waited on God. Even those who were spoken directly, like God spoke directly to them and told them, what their promises were, and they pushed anyway. But just be of good courage and know that you're not alone. We're all waiting on God to move on something, but He knows the perfect time. He knows the perfect timing for everything. So just wait on Him. I love you, and God loves you.